Hello all and welcome to the GMAT Advanced Target 700 series. Today we are going to see the 24th installment of the verbal part of the whole series. And as we have been discussing questions on assumptions, we will also look at some questions on assumptions in today's video. So moving on directly to the questions, we can see that the question here says that the Laconian Education Council has announced that the number of university students from poor families has increased by 40% over the last 5 years. At the same time, the government has started paying all university students a scholarship sufficient to maintain an acceptable standard of living without having to take part-time jobs, which are known to distract students from fully committing to their studies. Clearly, financial support from the government is solely responsible for increased enrollment of students from poor families in Laconian universities. Okay, so we have a very simple case. You have, the students increasing by 40% over the last 5 years, students from poor families. What and why? The government has started paying all university students a scholarship sufficient to maintain an acceptable standard of living. Okay. Then it says it's a very simple reasoning that the financial support from the government is solely responsible for increased enrollment of students. Now, such statements, that just one factor alone is solely responsible for increased enrollment of students, generally in a real life scenario are not too plausible. Okay, but we have to look at this particular case from the scope of the question and the scope of the options that are just given after it. Okay, it rarely happens that one factor alone is the deciding factor when it comes to increase in enrollment, increase in employment, or things like that. So let's look at what the options say. The question here being that which of the following is an assumption on which the argument depends. All right. Now, the first option says an upward trend in the Laconian economy allowed the government to create a special fund from which student scholarships are paid. Now, you see the source of the funds from which the student scholarships are paid are not really very relevant here. So the government could have created this fund from wherever it pleased. Okay, it doesn't have a bearing on whether it had an impact or not. Okay, so it's not really the argument that we are trying to evaluate here. So option A is clearly not the right answer. Let's look at the next one. Option B says that most university students in Laconia still choose to work part-time to supplement their scholarships. If this is true, then the whole argument falls apart, because the whole argument is saying that if you have to take part-time jobs, it kind of distracts you from studies, which means you will not be able to increase the enrollment rate of students. And this is absolutely anti to our argument. Let's look at option C. University students from poor families have the same postgraduate opportunities as compared to 5 years ago. Okay, now look at this option very, very carefully. It talks about another factor which could have come in play. And that factor is the postgraduate opportunities. Let us say the postgraduate opportunities have changed. 5 years ago, let us say you had fewer jobs or lower paying jobs for students of poor families. And now let us say the number of jobs have gone up and pay also has gone up. Now, what will this do? It will create a natural pull for more students to continue college or to enroll in college, right? Because let us say 5 years back, there were not really good opportunities. Today, there are a lot of opportunities. It is an incentive for the students to enroll in college. At the same time, what it will do is that it will weaken the whole premise that the financial benefits alone, okay, and mark the usage of the word solely, everybody is saying that probably, you know, they played a role, but we have to figure whether they were solely responsible for getting more students into the university. Okay, if this was the case, then definitely they are not solely responsible. Okay, but if the opportunities are remaining constant, that the opportunities here and the opportunities 5 years later continue to remain the same, then we can say that probably this added financial incentive is the only reason and not really the quality of options available after university. Hence, option C becomes a very good choice for our answer. Let's look at the next option. It says previous Laconian governments paid similar scholarships, but only to students who showed significant academic achievement. Okay, so guys, there is no discussion between people who had academic achievement versus people who did not have academic achievement. Okay, so we are not discussing academic achievement here. We are discussing overall enrollments having gone up, right? So academic achievement or you know, meritocracy is not really of essence here. So option D also goes out. Option E says large exam fees cancelled 5 years ago never kept poor Laconians from applying to university. Okay, so you had large exam fees earlier. Okay, it was cancelled, but it never kept poor Laconians from applying to university, which means money for them was probably not such a big factor, because even if the exam fees were high, they continued applying. What will it do? It will kind of go anti to our hypothesis, because our hypothesis is that if you make things easier for people financially, they will continue to, you know, increase enrollment. So option E goes absolutely anti to our premise. So what are we left with? We are left with option C, which becomes the final answer. Let's look at the next question. This one says that company X manufactures 2 radiator models, nice and warm and some like it hot. Okay, so you have 2 models. Let us say nice and warm. Let's call it model A, and you have let's call it model B. Okay, then it says John has nice and warm model. Okay, so John has this model, and Jane has some like it hot. So Jane has this model. Last winter, John and Jane turned on their radiators to maximum. Both of them turned their radiators to maximum every night at 10 and turned them off at 7. Okay, so it is happening on multiple days every night, and they are switching it on and switching it off at the same time. Okay, the temperature in Jane's bedroom was 8 degrees warmer than the temperature in John's bedroom. Okay, so Jane's temperature is 7 degrees more as compared to John's. Clearly, the some like it hot model is more effective than the nice and warm model. Okay, very simple argument again. It says you have this particular model. Both these models have been switched off for the same time from 2200 hours to 700 hours in the morning. Okay, and this has happened over multiple days, so it is not only just one day. Okay, so there is no local factor also, and the temperature in Jane's room is 7 degrees more. So clearly something better is happening in Jane's room, that is, you know, allowing the temperature to stay hotter. Let's look at the options. Option A says Jane's bedroom is smaller than John's bedroom. Okay, now this is a very important factor. Let us say Jane's bedroom is smaller. Okay, and John's bedroom is much larger. Okay, so there is much higher volume of air in John's room as compared to Jane's room. Okay, and then John's heater has to heat this whole volume. Okay, whereas Jane's room probably has to heat only this volume. Okay, which means that it is easier for Jane's heater to do it. Okay, so if Jane's bedroom is smaller, then Jane's heater has an inherent advantage in the race. And so we cannot say that it is more effective than John's heater. Okay, the room is smaller. If the same heater was placed, this room would be colder because it has larger volume of air. This is smaller. So we cannot say that your heater is more effective. Okay. So option A goes out. Let's look at option B. The price of nice and warm is higher than the price of some like it hot. Absolutely irrelevant option. No discussion on price is happening. Option C says John and Jane live in areas with the same climate. You know, this is very important. Why? Because let us say the volume of Jane and John's room is equal. Okay, if this was the volume, and let us say the outside temperature in John's case was, let us say 21 degrees. Okay, and the temperature outside Jane's room was, let us say 29 degrees. Okay, so the outside surroundings of Jane's room are hotter, which means it will be easier for any heater to heat Jane's room because the ambient temperature is different, right? So let us say you are using a heater in summers and winters. The heater is going to be more effective in summers because the ambient air is much hotter. Okay, whereas in John's case, what might be happening is that because the ambient air outside is so cold, his heater has to work doubly hard, okay, to get, or you know, to kind of get heat and not lose it out to the outside atmosphere. So this is what happens, right? When a heater heats a room, the room keeps losing the heat to outside. When you heat a room in winters, what happens is that your heat keeps dissipating through the walls, through the windows, through the doors, etc., right? So we have to ensure that the comparison is happening in an apples to apples format, you know. So you need to keep both the rooms, both the heaters in the same climatic conditions, because otherwise you would not be doing a fair competition. You would be giving advantage to one over the other. Okay, so option C becomes our very close choice. Let's look at option D. John is as sensitive to cold as Jane is. Got nothing to do with our options. We are comparing the effectiveness of one heater over the other and not who is more sensitive. Company X manufactures only 2 radiator models. Again, absolutely irrelevant. It is, we only need to look at you know, whether the model B is better and more effective or model A is better and more effective. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this particular session. I'll see you in the next session.